I did write down my resolutions, and I'm hoping that writing them down will help me be more successful. And one of my resolutions is not letting myself derail myself so easily this year. My health and my fitness are always like in the forefront of my mind. But sometimes if I start my day, say on the weekend, with like a big weekend breakfast with my family, I kind of give myself permission to just chuck the whole like healthy eating and workout and all that stuff. It's sort of like this all or nothing mindset. And I'm going to try to be better about being more consistent and enjoying that maybe big breakfast, but then also getting back on track. And like little tiny decisions add up to big achievements if you let them.
Welcome to Three Little Fishes. We're three sisters who grew up in the Midwest together, but have since spread across the country. I live in Los Angeles.
I'm in Nashville.
And I live in Philadelphia. We are all married with children. We've all had careers, but now we stay at home with our families.
We've all been through ups and downs that come along with life and have always helped each other through, shared stories, and laughed together.
We welcome all of you into our daily conversations and hope you have some fun with us.
So let's jump in.
What's up, fishes? Happy 2025. I come to you from Los Angeles today, and my heart is a little heavy. As you all know, that there's major wildfires happening in Los Angeles, in the Palisades, and the Eaton fires, which are next to Pasadena. I just wanted to say that we're thinking about all of our listeners that are affected, and we're with you during this really stressful and hard time. Mm-hmm. My family is safe and okay, but it's definitely been stressful and sad to watch the city burn. I think the fishes also just want to send a heartfelt thank you to all the firefighters and first responders for helping the city of Los Angeles, and hopefully these fires will get contained soon.
Yeah, we hope so.
Yeah, definitely.
I just want to also say that we'll put in at the bottom of our show notes link to the Red Cross Los Angeles and FEMA if anybody needs that information. But know that the fishes are with you and we're thinking about you. All right, before we jump into it, I just want to remind all of our listeners to please continue to subscribe, rate, comment, invite three of your favorite fishes to join the conversation. All right, y'all. So with the fires out here in Los Angeles, it got us three fishes thinking about emergencies. And we all live in different parts of the world.
Yep.
And the country. And we got us thinking about, how do we prepare for an emergency? Mm-hmm. My family was affected by these latest fires, and we were on a watch for an evacuation. So we had to pack a bag. We didn't have to use it. And I also have to think about earthquakes. So we always have an earthquake kit that is ready to go for 3 days with water, food, change of clothes, blankets. We always have that on the ready to go. What about you all in Tennessee and in Pennsylvania? What do you have to look out for, and how do you prepare for an emergency?
Pennsylvania is interesting, especially where we live, because I didn't think that tornadoes were a thing here, being from the Midwest, but they are. And where our home is, actually, we live on kind of an elevation. And so we always joke, because we say we live in a wind tunnel, because we get incredible winds that come through the back of our house. And like 2 years ago, a tornado actually touched down and went through our backyard and took out a bunch of these like 100-year-old trees. Oh. So that was like my first experience here. Like, oh my gosh, we have tornadoes as well. So we have to be mindful of that. And with all those winds and the rain and those like tornadoes, we're constantly losing power. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we probably lose power, I would say, four times a winter at least.
Mhm.
And so it made us get a generator
Mm.
because there was one time we were out of power for several days. And it was
Yeah.
like, you know, I mean, it's kind of fun to get out the flashlights and do that for a couple days and play the board games and stuff like that. But after a few days, it's like no fun.
Yeah.
So
And the
we,
anxiety kicks in, right? Because you're like, is the power ever going to come back on? Like,
Mhm.
I
yeah.
think it becomes stressful too.
I mean, the only other thing that we do, we have, and we've had it before we moved here. We had it when we lived in St. Louis. We have ladders because we live in a 2-story, 3-story house. And so, to get out, if you're able to get out of the house safely with a ladder to get down without like breaking your leg would be a
Mhm.
positive. So we do
Mhm.
have those like little metal ladders that thank goodness we haven't ever had to use, but we do have them.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then the only other thing I can think of that is always on my mind is just, we have, well, now my son's in college and we're constantly on road trips as well and car safety. So we do have like an emergency kit in our car that has like the jumper cables, the light sticks, like all that stuff,
Mhm.
and extra blankets. And of course, we do keep food. I always have to have food in the car
Yeah.
because that, like, I just think I would starve or something. I mean, I can't imagine that would ever happen,
Yeah.
but my son like just drove back to college and he actually ran into some weather going through the mountains of Pennsylvania and
Mhm.
he couldn't see and like kind of almost ran off the road. So, I mean, you never
Yikes.
know. It could
Right.
happen like at any moment. So it's better to be safe than sorry, I guess.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, you kind of deal with the same thing, don't you, Linda, with like
I do.
your
And I
girls?
actually we do get tornadoes here in Tennessee. It's very common. In fact, I remember one of the first times you came to visit, we had a tornado warning and the sirens went off at like 3 in the morning and we all went downstairs to our basement. We happen to have a basement here, which is very uncommon. There's not a lot of
Yeah.
basements in Tennessee. We went to the basement. I woke you up and you had your little sleeping eye mask on and your earplugs in. You're like, wait, what? And so we got you up and my family is very kind of crazy when we have a tornado warning and we're up. We watch Twister during tornadoes.
Yeah. I mean, I totally remember this because I think I'd gotten in late and I was
Yeah.
tired and
Yeah.
I was like dead asleep. And then I'm like, what are you doing in here? Like, and then her whole family is like downstairs on the couch and her husband's, and they all have this movie going like it's a party. And I'm
It's a
like,
party. Yeah.
most people
Yeah.
are like freaked out and they try and stay calm, but not the Schultzes. They're like, hey, it's party time.
Well, I
Well,
guess I guess you could look at it. It's better than freaking out and letting your
yeah.
anxiety take over.
I
I don't
think,
know.
we've had times where we've lost power for a couple of days. So I do keep battery operated lanterns in everyone's rooms and then extras in the laundry room. And we
That's a
do
good idea.
have, blankets everywhere. And we gather the animals, we put them in their crates. So if we have to get out, we can. We've been very fortunate. We haven't had anything catastrophic, but I do remember back in the day, there were a couple of times where we had huge blizzards in Chicago or we had tornadoes and we'd fill the tub with water just in case we lost water and power for multiple days.
Mm,
And there's times where you can't open up your refrigerator when you don't have power. So all those kinds of things are, good things to have in your back pocket if you need them. I do have kids that travel in cars for long distances to get back to school. So I do the same thing. They all have blankets and flashlights and jumper cables, and they need to know how to use the jumper cables. But I think,
yes.
it's almost easier in a way these days because if you have an emergency, you have a phone. Whereas back in the day, like we would go off to school and we didn't have cell phones. So you'd
Right.
have to find a payphone. So we always had like dimes or quarters or whatever stashed away in the car so that if we needed to get help, we could get to a payphone and call somebody. Whereas
Right.
now it's like a little easier. You can call AAA, you can call your insurance company and somebody can come help you.
Right.
I mean, as long as you have cell service, I mean, you
Right.
are
I
right. It's
mean,
easier to like reach out until your cell goes down. And like, do you remember the number to tell
right.
somebody if they come across and are there payphones anymore? I don't even really know. They don't really
But they're
catch my
few and far
eye.
between.
Yeah.
And I have daughters. So when they are driving back and forth, like some of the things we always tell them is like, if your car breaks down, call for help. Don't get in a car with somebody. Don't, people, chances are they're nice people that want to help you, but they could be a serial killer. So don't get in a car with somebody you don't know. You
Right.
know
Right.
what I
Right.
mean? So, stay in lit roads, try to get off the exit, try to get under a light, try to, be mindful and be aware of everything around you kind of thing. Rich and I always, when we go to the movies, we also do like our exit plan. Like, I can't believe we have to do this now, but we'll sit in the movies and I'll be like, okay, where are we going? He's like, let's go there if we need to. That's like where we're going to go in case we have an emergency. So I think just all these kinds of things are good to have in your back pocket just in case, prepare for the worst,
Yeah.
hope for the
Peter actually
best.
does that with our family on airplanes. He's like, there's where you're going, and you're getting X kid or whatever. You're
Yeah,
Right.
responsible for them. And I'm
right.
always like, when he did that when we were newly married, I was kind of freaked out by it. But now I just kind of expect it. And it actually is a good plan.
Yeah, it's good to have a plan. Hopefully you don't have to use it, but it's good to have a plan.
One other thing I wanted to say about the emergency is I think it's good that you know your car because last year I got a flat tire and it was locally here.
Hmm.
And my son happened to come help me. I just was able to call him. But we both were surprised because this car that we were driving, when we got like the tire out, he was going
Hmm.
to change my tire to put the donut on or whatever. It was like not blown up. It
Oh,
looked, and we both were like, "Oh,
Oh,
is that flat? Like, is
right.
something wrong with it?" But it
yeah.
turns out they come that way. And then it came with an air compressor. So you actually have to blow it up. I mean, the whole thing was fascinating to me because I was like, I
Oh,
had no idea. So it's probably a good idea, kind of like your car.
yeah. Do a dry run,
Or,
maybe. Yeah.
yeah, just so you kind of know, does my car have a spare tire? Because some cars, even nowadays, I was asking my friend, her car doesn't even have a spare.
Oh, really? I had
I
no
think some of these
idea.
newer cars, some may not.
Hmm. Well, I know we
Um,
have a car that you can drive on a flat for
yes,
like
run
a long
flats.
time. I can't remember the number of miles, but it's like, of course, get off and get to your exit and get help. But you can drive on
Right.
it for a long time without hurting the rim, which is amazing.
Do you guys remember when we were growing up that we had to learn how to change a tire? Like dad put us in before he would send us off when we were newly driving, we had to change a tire.
Yes.
Do you guys
Yes.
remember doing that? But now the tires are so heavy. I don't think I know how to do it, but I don't think I physically am strong enough to be able to do it. That's the other issue, right?
Yeah. And
Like,
they put those lug nuts on with like a mechanical wrench or whatever.
Yes.
So they are hard to loosen up. But I mean, I think if you put your whole body into it, you could probably do it. It's just
use that
gonna
use that core.
take some effort.
all right, you all. So we're headed into it's now 2025, which is incredible. And before we went on our break, we talked about resolutions and that study that was done, I think, by Harvard or
Hmm.
Stanford. Was it
Harvard.
Harvard?
Yep.
And saying you would have better success to achieve your goals, your resolutions, if you write them down. So
Hmm.
I'm curious, did you fishes write down your goals or resolutions this year?
It took me a little bit of time. I've been fighting like a head cold for a few weeks. I haven't really wrapped my head around the new year completely, but I did write down my resolutions, and they're nothing earth shattering, but I'm hoping that writing them down will help me be more successful. And one of my resolutions is something that maybe other people will relate to is I have a hard time sometimes intraday to be kind of an all or nothing kind of person. So, like, as I'm aging, I'm creeping up on 60 now. Like, my health and my fitness are always like in the forefront of my mind. But sometimes, if I start my day, say on the weekend, with like a big weekend breakfast with my family, I kind of give myself permission to just chuck the whole like healthy eating and workout and all that stuff. It's sort of like this all or nothing mindset. And I'm going to try to be better about being more consistent and enjoying that maybe big breakfast, but then also getting back on track. And like little tiny decisions add up to big achievements if you let them. And it's not letting myself derail myself so easily this year, which I have a tendency to do. So that's one of my big resolutions this year, is to try to just be more consistent, a little bit more graceful with myself, but then also like, stay the course. And if I fall off the track for a meal or a day or whatever, then get back on the horse and get with it again, and not let myself do that all or nothing mentality so much this year.
I think giving grace is a positive thing of, and a little bit at a time. Like
Yeah,
you don't have is you're not failing if you don't get 100% all the time, right? That's what we
right,
would tell our kids. Like,
right,
are you making effort? Are you trying?
right.
Some days you're going to do well, some days maybe not as well, and that's
Right.
okay.
But I have a tendency to like, okay, I was so bad. And then it's like, okay, whatever. It's just like the day is shot. Whereas I feel like I'm going to really try to, that's fine. If I go out for like an extraordinary meal and I have a couple glasses of wine, that's fine. But like, get back on track the next meal, get back on track, quicker, not to give myself permission to just chuck it all for a day
Right.
or two. You know what I mean? Like, I feel
Yeah.
like I have that mindset too much. So I'm going to try and not do that this year.
Yeah.
And writing
You
it down,
know,
maybe that will help me. I don't know. I'm hoping.
Well, they say writing it down with food, if food's your goal to eat better, they say if you track your meals, it does kind of make you hold yourself accountable for what you're doing and what you're consuming.
Hmm.
So maybe.
I did write down a couple of my goals this year because I was listening to you. And
Wow.
um, I actually, one of my goals this year is to focus on the positive.
Hmm.
I feel like sometimes we get a little negative, and I'm not sure that that's the greatest thing for me. So I'm focusing on the positive. And I actually read this article. It was written by these two psychiatrists from the Clay Center, and I will post that in the show notes. Their names are
Okay.
Stephen Schultzman and Jean Bernstein. But it was a very good article. It was kind of short, so you guys should all read it. But they also were talking about you have to be ready to change and you
Hmm.
have to be positive because positivity really makes things a lot better and it makes you accountable and stay motivated and try to focus on like the positive things that maybe you have already done better last year that maybe you want to continue doing instead of the negative
Right. So
because that
build on your little wins so that they
correct.
become bigger wins.
I know that just struck with me. I'm going to look more on the positive aspect and
Hmm.
try and stay accountable for some of these small goals I have instead of
Yeah.
looking at the whole kitchen sink, just look at a little thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
And like my son Trevor says, it's lock in January. So we're all like, as a family, going to lock in.
I mean, I think like anything, right? Like with anything, negativity builds negativity, positivity builds positivity. So that
Yeah.
Yeah.
completely tracks for me.
So
Hmm.
I was like, yeah, I'm all about it.
I
And
like
then
it.
I also have one other goal is a sustainability goal. I'm going to start really trying to use less bottled water. And I got myself a Yeti Rambler
Oh,
that's
good.
leak free, I hope.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
says it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hopefully going to try that.
I wish I could get my people on board with that because I have a huge 40-ounce Stanley that I love
Yeah.
at the house. Like it's easy in the house. It's harder to take with me out and about, but we have the
Well,
same thing. We have filtered
y-
water throughout the entire house. Why in the world would we ever use anything not than, the filtered water out of the faucet?
well, I also was noticing my kids do go to the gym and they do have those water bottles that they take to the gym.
Yeah,
Then my son brought home his water bottle from college, and I'm like, okay, if they can do it while they're away, I
right.
can keep doing it.
Johanna loves her. She just got a Stanley. She really wanted a Stanley because my kids take reusable water bottles to school. And we went to Santa Barbara over the weekend. It was just a day trip. So I'm like, I need a bigger cup of coffee. So I'm like, Tim, I'm going to use Johanna's Stanley and then I'll just refill my other reusable cup when I need more.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But the Stanley works so well and it keeps the heat in so well that Tim was like, I can't even drink this coffee. So I'm like, oh, that's okay. I'll just take off the top for you and you can just like sip it without the top. And
Oh
he's like, took
no.
a sip of it as he's driving and hot coffee is splashing in his face. He's like, this is not working.
Oh no.
But if you keep the lid on, it really is leak proof. So that's my tip to you. Keep your lids on.
Well, one of the things
That's
that
great.
I love, like Nancy sort of mentioned it, is I have an Apple Watch. And so I've been trying this like fitness regimen, which I haven't been able to do for the last few weeks because I've been sick. But I love that it keeps track of my like fitness rings and even it'll keep track of sleep and steps. And I think there's so many amazing like little tools out there to help you sort of achieve some of these little whatever goals you have for your health and fitness and even mental health. There's like all these apps and AI is like coming out with like
Yes.
amazing things now.
Yeah. I mean, the wellness trends for 2025, that's a huge one.
Yeah.
Like the personalized fitness using AI. And
Hmm.
we ended up getting Trevor and Peter a Whoop, which is kind of like an Apple Watch, but it's the same kind of thing. It measures sleep, your stress, recovery, strain, your step counts, your
Hmm.
heart rate, calories burned. I mean, I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And
It's
they actually
amazing.
also came out with like Whoop underwear. So it usually wear it on your wrist, but this underwear has like a little pouch in it. So you put the Whoop in the pouch, and then you don't have to wear anything on your wrists. So
Wow.
That's
I
that
so
wonder how
fascinating.
does that work? I
yeah,
wonder. That's amazing. Have you
it
guys
just
seen that Cora ring that you put on? It's
yes.
like I think those are kind of cool too.
I actually wanted to buy Trevor that for Christmas,
Yeah.
but when I was kind of like hinting around about it, he was like, "I don't wear rings." I
Oh
was
yeah.
like, "Oh,
Right.
okay."
I get that.
So that's why we did the Whoop because he didn't want to have to wear something. So
But
I guess it's
he wanted to be able to track what he's doing. So this
yeah.
is a
I
good
mean, I think
solution.
he was interested in it to
Yeah.
know like what is happening in his
So
body. So
is he wearing this special underwear and tracking it? Like is he actually using it?
yeah, he is, and he actually also bought another band for the Whoop that's like more like a plastic, rubbery.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's waterproof.
I didn't know about the Whoop. I knew about like Apple Watch, Fitbit, the Cora ring, but the Whoop is new for me. But I love that there's all these different choices out there. Like our
Yeah.
oldest daughter loves to track her sleep. Like she'll say to me, I slept 12.2 hours and she'll rate her quality of sleep with the sleep app that she loves. And it's just one of those things that I do think kind of makes you aware of your healthfulness I think it's
Yes, sleep
amazing.
is huge. I mean, the sleep.
Wow, I'm impressed though, just not to interrupt Kathy, but that she can sleep for 12.4 hours. Is that what you said? That
Yeah.
is like, how do I
It
get
doesn't
that?
happen all the time, but like it did the other day. And she was like, I feel great. I'm like, I bet you do. That's amazing.
I know, Kathy, I think that you were telling me that sleep is super important for your health too, like even more important than we even realize.
Just from looking at these wellness trends, they're just saying, I think people underestimated how important sleep really is to just your overall health, mood,
Mm-hmm.
um, that people need to get sleep to recover.
One of the things I'm trying to improve on for myself is that I love TV. And I have one in my room, and at night I have a bad habit of watching TV and kind of falling asleep to it. And I think that that's probably not the best way to actually go to sleep. So I'm actively trying to say the TV goes off at a certain time, and I either have to read or listen to music or listen to a book instead of falling asleep to the TV. We'll see if I notice a difference.
Yeah,
I just
a
started
little
Yeah.
doing that.
bedtime, a different bedtime routine. I think they
Yes.
do say if you have like a set routine that you try to do consistently, you do have a higher quality of sleep, which is just hard. We have kids, we have teenagers that don't sleep. So, like, I'm
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
late waiting for people to get home and
Yes.
make sure everyone's not, you know, not somewhere they're
Yes.
not supposed to be or doing
Yeah.
whatever.
I mean, they
So,
say that like unplugging is important, that we
yeah.
should not
It is
have.
hard to do, though. I will say that is a
Yes.
challenge for me as well, Nance.
And the other
Yeah.
thing I'm trying to do, and this is, I guess, would circle back into resolutions, is that for my nighttime, trying to change that routine and be more mindful of just, myself and being more calm at bedtime and having less input, but also in the morning. Like, I'm really guilty of grabbing my phone first thing in the morning and looking at the news and checking my email. And I have found that my anxiety goes higher when I'm just go
Mhm.
straight to the news before I give myself a chance to wake up. So I have to check email quickly just to make sure I don't have anything from the school. But other than that, I just don't want to dive into like life yet. I want to wake up and try to set the tone for myself and my family without outside noise, even though
Yeah.
that's tricky to do. I don't know
Yeah.
how you guys start your day, if you go directly to
Well,
your phone.
I think you're kind of talking about, I mean, another trend they were talking about is micro practices. And that to me sounds like a micro practice. Like
Mhm.
you're taking a little time for yourself before you
Mhm.
start your day
Yeah.
on electronics, whatever. And they're saying that doing these, I don't even know who came up with that term, but even taking small breaks during the day, or they say gratitude exercises, which I kind of like, being like, yay, Kathy, or
Like gratitude for yourself or
yeah,
gratitude for other people or all of it. Like,
I guess it
was
could
it?
be all of it, but just taking a breath,
Mhm.
Yeah.
like in the morning, like
Mhm.
you're saying, just breathe. And, it's meaningful and supposed to help you.
That sounds good. I feel like, there's enough outside noise that whatever we can do to kind of calm our minds and be as productive with our days, a positive thing, right?
And the
Yeah.
word micro, that micro just makes it seem so very manageable. Like even if you did two things during your day that took a minute, but you stopped and thought about yourself or thought about what you were doing or not doing or whatever,
Right.
like that's so manageable as opposed to like upending your entire life and trying to like change everything so that you could achieve this ginormous goal. If you can just do little tiny things, it all builds into something like maybe beautiful.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I like that.
So enhancing the positive, like
Enhancing
it.
the positive.
All right, girls. I like this. So we did a kind of a little different spin on what's for dinner this week because Kathy
Mhm.
found this recipe that she wanted to try and she thought we should all three try it. And it
Mhm.
was called What was the recipe called, Kathy? It was a chicken recipe. It was called
Honey chipotle chicken skewers.
honey chipotle chicken. Yes.
Yeah, from a
And
pinch of yum.
And I actually made this for my family last night. I did not. It was a dish that you were supposed to put on skewers, and it had a marinade sauce with chipotle peppers in it. I did not put them on a skewer. I just ended up cutting them up and putting them in chunk size and putting them in the pan and cooking them that way with the sauce. And I liked it, but it had a kick to it. And I actively laughed out loud when I took a bite of it because I was like, this is spicy. Is Kathy really eating this spicy chicken? So my question is to you, Kathy, did you eat it? And do you like spice? I had no idea.
I told you to put the glaze on it. That's why. Because did you do the glaze?
I did the glaze, yes.
Oh, so I actually did a lot of glaze on ours, which I think helped cut a little bit of that spice. So Peter and I thought it was a little spicy. My middle son did not. He was like, this isn't spicy at all.
Yeah.
And they actually all loved it.
Yeah.
Even Peter loved. We did ours on skewers and we grilled it. And we had it with some rice and a salad. And I actually thought it was very good.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked it, but it was spicy, and I think I was surprised. And I actually added more honey to kind of cut the spice a little bit.
Yeah, chipotle is a little tricky. In my family, a couple of people like spice. My husband does not at all. So I have to modify those kinds of recipes, less chipotle, more honey.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think,
But I thought it was a thumbs up. I thought it was good.
Yeah, I think that I'm not sure, maybe a redo, I'm not sure. It might have been a little bit too spicy for some of my people, but I love that we tried a recipe together. So I would love the listeners we'll post this recipe, give it a try, and I would love to know what your thoughts are. Is this thumbs up, thumbs down, spicy, not spicy enough? We would love to hear your comments.
Well, we want to thank you for listening to our season 2 of our podcast and letting us sisters jump into your day. Please make sure to follow, rate, and review us. We wish you all a happy 2025. Please look out for some new topics, and we are also going to be starting a book club. Have a great weekend. Sisters out.